Unaccountable podcast. I'm here with Judah today. He's going to tell us a little bit about his experience as a realtor and take it away.
Going on, y'all? Judah Fashay, thanks for the intro, Jason. So, yes, I am a realtor and I do go by Rookie of the Year Realtor. And that's actually a goal of mine that I just, go by because I believe, believe it, you can achieve it. And I just got licensed in January. Before then, I was doing wholesaling and I'm gonna just jump right into it. When it comes to money, with that, I mean, I did make my first deal, close that joint, literally just by cold calling on markets because I was wholesaling, trying to find someone who would take a lower offer. And then I called an agent. They denied the offer. The seller rejected, but then they said, "Hey, do you have buyers?" I said, "Yes." And it was as simple as, okay, she sent me the off-market deal. I sent it to another friend who was a wholesaler, closed, and that was boom, $2,000. What I then did was I also have a clothing brand, Mogul Forever. So I invested the majority of that into a drop of some hoodies that I make as a collaboration with this other brand. So I invested into a drop, sold those hoodies, and doubled my money, flipped it, and whatnot.
So I'm not familiar too much with clothing brands and how they, how I guess a drop or flipping a clothing brand. So tell me a little bit more about that because
hmm
I've never heard of somebody flipping clothing. I know that some people do it as a bit of a hustle for a brief period of time, but
hmm
then they usually get out because they stop making money. So it seems like you made some money doing it. Out of curiosity,
Yeah,
how'd that go around? How'd that turnaround go?
yeah. So I've had my clothing brand since November 2021. It's crazy how time flies, but yeah, you're right. Sometimes it can not be as profitable as you want it to be. Hence why I ventured out into other things such as real estate. But yeah, actually, if I'm to be transparent, my first year doing my clothing brand, I reached over $100,000 in revenue. And it's kind of like a
Damn.
bittersweet thing because, I was young, I was 18, just I was 18, went to 19. I was making all this money. Like I can show you my bank account, it was like 18K this month, 60K this month, 12K this month, 20K this month. But I was young and I was just like, I was living and I didn't realize how literally just door dashing every day, going to the gas station, getting a bunch of snacks every day, all these small purchases constantly because like for example, I would just wake up and just see my phone orders and it'd be like $450 today in sales. And what happened was sometimes I didn't think about the fact that okay, this material is gonna cost to buy the products. And I'm running advertisements. That's how I kept the steady income going. Cause I was always running ads. Like I would boost a ton of my Instagram posts and have them running for like $5 a day or $20 a day, $50 a day. And so that accumulates, right? But it also has a return on ad spend. So you're spending $50 a day, you might be getting like, 200 in sales, but the problem was I was spending all this money in marketing. It's the same marketing for any business in real estate marketing, but I wasn't exactly tracking how much I was spending in marketing. So I was just spending and spending in marketing, spending and spending and buying the product. Sales are consistent, but I just wasn't keeping track of anything. I was just, kind of just going with the flow, focusing on the creative stuff. Oh, shoot, this money's coming in. I could spend it. But then come around the time to not pay for my bulk order, a lot of times the money would be gone. I did pre-orders, and then that put me into situations where people would be waiting on their orders and, lost some customer trust. And then it put me in a cycle of having to, go back to fix those things before I then, it just kind of put me in like a cycle. So just that taught me the lesson of always manage every dollar. Like you have to know what's going on. Like you have to be inside your business. Like you can't just be letting it go and just leaving it all to chance. Like you have to be managing everything. So now this go around, I'm back working. My brand is still my thing, but I'm doing real estate. I just believe anything I do will prosper. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good mentality, especially with real estate. I know a lot of realtors, they are usually the happiest people. The ones that don't do well aren't, but the ones that do, they're usually the happiest people because it's the mentality. To really do well, you have to keep yourself going. Like anything in sales, you have to keep yourself upbeat. When somebody approaches you, often in real estate, especially because the customers usually come to you, They don't want to talk to somebody like, hey, yeah, there's a house here. They want to talk to somebody that's energetic and excited, and they want to have the best experience because they want,
Exactly.
they're excited about buying a home and they want somebody to match that energy. And so I find that to be very, very helpful, at least in most sales positions with most people I talk to. It's the same thing. They have to carry themselves. And so for that, yeah, it definitely makes sense and just being happy with it. But as far as marketing goes, you kind of learned a lot in that segment there, more than I did when I was going through some of the business that I had. And I think that's a big takeaway. I mean, you made 100 grand though. That's huge. That's a huge deal. I'm hoping at least you still had some of that to kind of reinvest in other ventures though. So that
Oh yeah. I mean,
if
I
you,
mainly
I don't know if you did or
reinvested.
didn't, but yeah,
Yeah, I mainly reinvested it back in the brand. So, like for example, that $100,000 plus in revenue, let's say probably maybe 40 to 50,000 of that was spent on the products. So maybe, you know, 50, 60,000 in profit. But, like I said, without management, sometimes for me, what it was just like getting it, just being used to letting my account go to zero because I know I'm going to get more and just like spending what I have because I know I'm going to get more. It was just that. But, yeah, I definitely learned to stay on top of things.
that's awesome, man. So I did do a little bit of research into your account because you're very, very big on social media, and I think that's kind of cool because not many realtors that I know are. I think it's part of the business, but I think a lot of them don't really want to do social media as much. And so, looking at your account, I did see one deal where there was a contract that was signed early on for 45 grand, and the guy didn't own the property. So I was going to ask about that. It's
Yeah.
like, how'd that come into play? What was the outcome there?
Yeah, I'm I'm glad I recorded that. It's just funny, like the things that do go viral, like. But yeah, so I was wholesaling at the time, and so with wholesaling, you familiar with it? Wholesaling?
Not really, to be honest with you, no.
Okay, so wholesaling. Let me just explain to you wholesaling. This is how I closed my first deal. I would get that contract. Basically, I would get the right to buy that house for $45,000. I don't have said $45,000, but I would get the right in a contract to buy for $45,000. I would now find a buyer because I had a ton of buyers who wanted that property. I would not find a buyer who was willing to pay, let's just say $80,000, because one buyer was willing to pay 80, even though one was willing to pay $190,000, but whatever. The difference between the 45,000 contract that I have and what the other buyer is willing to pay. So let's just say that's 190 minus 45. That that'd be 145. So that full difference would be $145,000 with wholesaling. So that's how that
So would
goes.
that be
So
like
so,
a
so
commission on it? Like if they buy it for 45?
no, they wouldn't buy it for 45.
Oh,
Like I said,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I would get the contract for 45. They would buy it for
Okay.
190 because that's how much it could be worth
Mhm.
because they can flip it and end up making 400,000 and profiting like 200,000 in the thing. So what it is in simpler terms, let's say you get the right to buy for 120, you assign it to someone for 140, and then you keep the 20K as the difference. Yeah, so basically you just get the right to get
Got
it
it.
at a low price. Someone buys it for a higher price, and then you keep the difference. And that's how I closed my first deal, and I made 2,000. But that's what I had wanted to do on that deal. It would have been a home run deal. Like, man, like I said, I made 100,000 in that year of doing close. That would have been one deal. But I wasted time because I was fairly new. I didn't know how to look up the records and see exactly who the owner is. I didn't think yet to have the title company find out who the real owner was. So, yeah, I basically just it was a useless contract because he signed it, even though he's not the owner, to get that $45,000, but he never had the authority to sell it. So let's say I did have a buyer actually pay, and it wouldn't even get far because title would have, realized that, oh, hey, he's not even the owner. So yeah.
Mhm. Well, I'm sorry about that. You're not wrong. It would have been a home run for sure.
Yeah.
Um, dang, that's a big difference too. Like if you had one for 100, yeah, it's at least 60 grand right off the back.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
you
sorry,
gotta
man.
learn. Yeah, it's just you gotta learn from
But
those because the next time it comes around, you know what to do.
yeah, well, that makes sense. So about your debt situation, you said you might be in the more debt category. So if you, I'll kind of just let you take it away from here, but feel free to elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, my thing is like typical, like just a ton of credit cards. Like, okay, before I turned 18, my mom had me on her card. Her like, she had me as like a authorized user on her cards. So by the time I turned 18, like a couple months in, boom, my credit score was like 780 from the jump. And I'm happy about this. I'm like, yo, my credit score is like 780. Like, oh, I'm tough. I start and then later, I start my brand. I was working to accumulate the money for it, right? Working overnight shifts at IHOP. And then I now discovered the Discover credit card, which they offer to college students. I got that one. It was like 500. I would use it well, get it increased to 1,000, 2,000, 2,500, 3,000. And I also got the Apple card, which is so easy to get. Like, all you do is just text the little Apple thing a couple times, boom, you're approved for $5,000. And I'm like, oh, shoot. And I did that. As I said, I had the brand. So I would use it a lot to purchase bulk orders. For example, I was selling beanies. I would use it to buy the beanies and then sell them. But the thing is, I didn't so much so prioritize paying it back. It was just like where my headspace was. It was just like, okay, this is money that I can use. I wasn't thinking, I wasn't really deeping the fact that I have to pay all this back. So I was just using it, running it up. And then, fast forward, I got into a car accident. I really don't like, telling this story because I feel like it kind of gives, for a lot of time, it would give me an excuse as, "Oh, okay, this is what happened. And then it all went downhill from here. And that's why I'm in a sad, sad spot." And, because sometimes we make excuses for ourselves as to why we're not where we want to be and we get comfortable with. It's nothing to be comfortable about. It's just like what happened was to be learned from it. So I got into a car accident. Not depressed. I was just not happy about it. I totaled my car. I had a car note of like 16,000 and I was paying it, but then when I crashed it, totaled it, the insurance only gave like 12,000. So I was on the hook for a couple thousand in debt. So I'm like, dang. And then I had to keep on paying that note, even though I didn't have the car. So I was paying it for some time. I was like, yo, I can't be paying this note. I don't even have the car. And it was making everything hard, because I didn't have the car. So then I'm paying it and then I stopped paying it. My credit starts to take a hit. But I'm like, why am I paying for a car that I don't own? But I mean, you have to. It's your note. But yeah, then I ended up, paying that off with some help from my parents. But of course, my credit had already taken a hit. And then, you know, I was with my girlfriend at the time. And she went to college about an hour away from me. And, little me, jolly lover boy, I love to go visit her. I always wanted to see her all the time. So on that credit card, I used to just be buying Ubers, getting 60 to $100 Ubers to and from her campus. Like, and just like, just living. Not only that, even in the peak of, things, I would just be getting Airbnbs, like I said, just eating food out every day. I actually did used to, smoke marijuana. I know it's explicit, but that is an expensive habit. It's not only is it taxing and expensive on the mind and your productivity and success, it's taxing and expensive on your pockets, especially when you're heavily addicted. And I was heavily addicted, and I didn't see it as anything that deep. People think it's normal, but it's not. People are literally addicted, and it costs like hundreds of dollars when you think about it to be constantly doing that stuff every
Yeah,
day.
I couldn't
So
agree more on that one. On the marijuana note, truthfully, if you do it, I don't really have anything against you because that's what you do on your time. That it doesn't affect me at all. But as far as marijuana goes, personally, I've never known anybody to do anything productive with it.
yeah.
And like you said, it is addictive. It claims that it's not addictive, have been around forever. But then why does everybody that smokes it keep smoking it every day and spending all the money when they could just stop if they couldn't afford it? So I know a lot of people that do it that really shouldn't or could afford it, and they don't really they're just not as productive in it. I'm not entirely sure what the point is of smoking it if it just doesn't push you forward in life. So I
Yeah.
got nothing on that, other than just that's you, you do your own thing, but personally for me, no, not gonna happen. Um, but that I mean, and there's a lot of people that are like that. It kinda like alcohol. I don't really condone drinking to an extent. I do, but celebrating only. Only to
Mm.
celebrate. Anything else, if it's just gonna amplify your mood, and if you're in a bad mood, why the hell would you wanna amplify a bad mood?
Yeah,
It sucks for
man.
you, and it sucks for everybody around you too. So, stuff
Facts.
like that, I mean, it's your own vices. I mean, but I just I don't think it's productive either, so
Yeah, definitely.
but
I mean, I
Ubers,
even say
spending a lot on
yeah,
Ubers
dude.
is crazy. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It is. No, it is. I mean, I literally look back, I'm like, "What was I thinking?" Like, I couldn't even have been thinking, like, I was like, my relationship with money was so weird. Cause like, remember, like, okay, so I would sell my hoodies, right? Um, each I would used to sell I would sell them for about 80, you know, 80 to or do sales and do some for, like, 64. So, I'll just be chilling, ching, ching, ching in my pocket, ching, ching, like constantly because I have a good brand. My brand is very fairly popular in the DMV area, and it's actually worldwide.
Mhm,
Humbly speaking, but so I was just used to like, okay, I'm always gonna keep getting these sales. Like I'll literally just be chilling the random moments. Like let's say I'll be like, oh dang, I'm broke, ching, 88 dollars, and then instant payouts too. And then let's say like I get like 3 hoodie orders, ching, ching, ching. Oh, $240. Oh, okay, bet. I can spend 180 on this TV. Why not? You know? But I still not knowing that I'm still on the hook to buy all of those hoodies and ship all of those hoodies. But I'm just like, "Oh,
yeah.
see this sum of money, I am allowed to spend it. So that's what I'm gonna do." So, yeah, that was just like,
Well, you
my
learned it
weird.
responsibly, and yeah, you learn from your mistakes, which I think a lot of people, truthfully, nowadays don't really click to as much. From my experience with this podcast and people I've met, there's three people. There's one that balances the book really, really good. I mean, they are accounting every dollar, every dime, no matter how much they make, they're doing fine because they know how much they spend. The other end
Mhm,
is they make a lot of money. They don't care about how much they spend because they make enough to always, compete and combat it. And it either not only does it just balance out, but they make more spending more. And it's a different and honestly a more rare kind of person. But those are the people that usually have a lot of money. They just spend it on dumb crap. And then there's that middle ground where they're terrible at both. They can't balance a book and they don't make any damn money and they're just broke. And I've seen a lot of those. And I try to explain to them, you got to do one or the other. Otherwise, you're just going to sit in that limbo for a while. But
mhm,
those are the only
absolutely.
two kinds of people with money.
Yeah, I'm taking notes.
You,
Literally, it's like that's where you strive to be, just making so much. And that's I feel like that's always where I've been in my head, right? Even if it wasn't that, like I just had it in my mind, okay, I know I'm a six-figure earner, so I'm gonna spend like a six-figure earner. But even if you're making the money and if you don't like if you're not at that point like where you can spend like and upgrade that lifestyle so much, then that's how you mess yourself up because even like millionaires have messed it up times. So I think what would be good is like getting accounting, just getting the habit of good money management. But yeah,
yeah,
and then
it's
having a
being
team,
cost
having
effective
people
with the money.
right.
Yeah.
And then I'd say like if you're like me and you're not the best manager, it's good to have people on your team, like people who can look at your account, people who can manage you. That's what I've found to be helpful.
I mean, there's a lot of people out there. I know more that are like me in the sense where I mean, I pinch every penny. I'm just cheap to put it out there for you. I'm real cheap, and I watch every dollar I spend. But truthfully, the ones that really do go on to be, more successful and make a whole bunch of money are the ones that know how to reinvest in themselves and they have that confidence to push themselves with their money. An accountant helps because they can tell you how much is too much, but at the end of the day, you're always going to make more money because you're reinvesting in yourself and you're reinforcing that confidence and that ability to make more each year. Realtors are they're all like that in my opinion. They always push more money going their way because they know they're gonna make more each year. And it's a good way to help control yourself and manage your money because as long as you make more, then you don't have to worry about what you spent. So
Yeah,
I like
indeed.
realtors. Y'all are fun. I'm sorry, but y'all are always fun.
That's love.
So,
Teach.
kind of as a final note, if you had to advise anybody about anything we've talked about today or from your past experiences, how would you advise them to move forward and to, get through the struggles that you went through?
Yeah, so learn from other people's mistakes, first of all, so you don't have to learn from that from your own. But sometimes you just have to learn from your own. But yeah, credit is everything. Credit is everything. Um when you find something that works in terms of making money, keep doing it. Don't stop. Like whether that be running ads, but definitely watch everything carefully. Like that, like even like, it doesn't even have to be super carefully, but just don't be reckless, and do not impair your mind with substances, especially not on a daily basis, especially when you have responsibilities. And keep God first. Read Proverbs and ask for wisdom. But yeah,
I like
that'd be
that
it.
we do allow brands and plugging. So if you have anything that you want to include as far as brands, courses, stuff like that, feel free to send them over. I should have this video uploaded in about a week or two. And with that, I usually just promote the products or anything that you're trying to sell because I'm not here to hurt y'all. I'm not here to do anything like that. And if anything I can do helps, I'm all for it, 100%. So
Sweet. Oh yeah, I mean, I would tag my brand, Mogul dot Forever. It's about being your own boss and conquering every industry. Whether that be real estate, clothing, accounting, photography. You just gotta conquer every industry. Like do everything you can. You never know what's gonna work. And yeah, keep God first. And also Judah the DMV Realtor is my hashtag. I'm an agent realtor in Maryland. If you need help buying, selling, renting, or investing, I'm your guy.
awesome. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. It was a blast.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Unaccountable. If you like the content and you want to see more, be sure to hit the like button on the video and subscribe to the channel. See y'all around.